I mean to say that things are changing very fast at the Horn of Africa. And the geopolitics and the geostrategy is changing. So you can see that Ethiopia is actually sort of trying to buy peace because it cannot keep its eyes on the different fronts.
Yeah. Now this comes just shortly hours after a state of emergency was lifted by the new Prime Minister. So this is a man who's been hailed as the hero and as the messiah for Ethiopia. What does this tell you about his leadership?
Well, it's not his style of leadership, but it's the way of resolving a very serious crisis within Ethiopia. Ethiopia, I mean to say that he belongs to the Oromo group, which is actually the majority. They've got a majority, they make about 53%. 53 to 55% of the Ethiopian population, although some say it's about 40-something. And then again, you find that there's an insurgency going on in that area of Ethiopia, the Oromia. There is a group which wants to break away, yeah, and there's another group which wants more autonomy. So that has been going on for a long time, and the ruling clique, which is basically made up of the Tigrina, which is a minority group, and the old ruling clique of the Habesh, they had to relent their powers and actually decentralize the power that was in their hands. And so they gave it to a people who are really very critical in the unity of Ethiopia. And so the man is actually going out to really get out the stress and the strain from the Ethiopian situation. Because it's not only internal, there's also an external dimension to that. Yeah, we find it with the dam, with the, what do you call it, the Millennium Dam, with those row with Egypt, but that has been solved through a treaty, yeah, where they're going to monitor the filling of the dam. But then again, you find that early in January, the Egyptians actually stationed some troops in Eritrea, yeah, with the help of the UAE, yeah. So you find that they've got this Arab alliance, military alliance, which has been headed by Saudi Arabia. Now they're having a military presence in Eritrea, although Egypt has denied it. But there are sources in the Middle East saying that the troops are there. So to have animosity with a country which is already having troops who have got an interest in the security of your country, it should be remembered that Egypt, in their constitution, they say that they are ready to go to war with any nation that disturbs the flow of the River Nile. And Egypt has got basically two armies. It had the Suez Army, which was facing Israel, and the second army they called the Nile Army, which is they wanted to you could use for any country which was trying to stop the flow of the River Nile. Okay. So the people just had to come to have an arrangement with Eritrea to get out all animosity.
Okay. Just remind us again, if you can, the terms of the peace agreement with Eritrea that Ethiopia has now embraced.
Well, it was two things. What they're fighting for, that's where the demarcation, the borders was lay. Yeah. And key to that was actually the town of Badme, as our lady said there. And then the second thing was the withdrawal of Ethiopian troops. And with Ethiopia actually agreeing to that, the demarcation tribunal actually gave that town to Eritrea. So they're ceding their claim over the town of Badme, and they're going to withdraw their troops. I think that is what is going to happen.
Okay. Now, Mr. Khomo, this agreement was signed over a decade ago, but then it beats me why regional bodies, in particular the African Union, did not see to it that it is fully implemented.
Well, it was signed, and in fact, the peace agreement was there, and then they had a border demarcation exercise. And when the border demarcation exercise was actually given, that's why the Ethiopia said, no, they don't agree with with the contents of that demarcation, of the demarcation. Okay. And so that was it. That was the stumbling block. So, but now Ethiopia, due to the new geopolitical, and geostrategic and geomilitary circumstances, they've acceded to that.
Now, we also have critics who have accused Eritrea, just as they have accused Ethiopia, of human rights abuses. So how should these allegations be dealt with? Well,
I don't know how the civil rights abuses come in the border issue, but that's a different, totally different issue. Eritrea basically is under the rule of Isaias Afwerki. I mean, he's a strong man. And Eritrea, in the Horn of Africa, it is the biggest source of many refugees. And some of these are going to Ethiopia. Most of the refugees are trying to get into Europe, economic or whatever. Right. They come from Eritrea. Now that's a serious thing. I mean, the situation there is not that good. In fact, the whole of the Horn of Africa, it is a very precarious area where you've got problems in each and every country. Peace there, it's not there, and the place can blow up at any time. The only place or region which has got peace, funny enough, in the Horn of Africa is the unrecognized state of Somaliland. But the rest of the countries have got problems, be it Sudan, be it South Sudan, be it Somalia, and of course maybe Djibouti. But they've got a latent battle there between the Afras and the Isas. The Afras are the majority, but they are highly marginalized, and they're going to come up demanding more share of the power.
Yeah, for sure. And Eritrea in particular has been accused of, of promoting a national conscription service that is drafted citizens for an indefinite period. Now, this is another issue that needs urgent attention, isn't it?
Those are issues that need attention, and that's the issues where the youth are actually running away from, because with that national service, as it said, they're not even going for military conscription, but some of them are going to as labor units, working in state-sponsored with economic enterprises, in mining and things like that. But that's what is happening there. So basically, there's an internal problem in Eritrea. But I don't think it has got nothing to do with the border issue. Yeah. But again, another very interesting thing is this, that Ethiopia had announced that they want to reform their navy at the time when Eritrea was part of Ethiopia. Ethiopia had a navy, but now they actually said some 2-3 days ago they want to reform their navy. But people are thinking that a landlocked country, where will the ships be based? They could be based in Massawa with the new treaty, or they could be based in Djibouti. The Red Sea area is becoming heavily sort of militarized. You find that UAE has got troops in Somaliland. They're building a base there. There are, I think, four countries that have got bases in Eritrea, in Djibouti. Now Ethiopia is thinking of having a navy as a landlocked country where they're going to place their ships, but now that is actually doesn't say much.
I'm actually glad you raised that point, and I suppose that Ethiopia will now start withdrawing troops from the disputed areas, or am I jumping the gun here?
No, they've got to withdraw troops. That's part of the peace agreement. So they're going to abide to that stipulation of the peace agreement. They withdraw the troops and also give up the town of Badme. And actually sort of concentrate on other areas, maybe fighting, because they've also got an insurgency in Ogaden. There was a Somali separatist group there. And then also they've got to deal with the Oromo Liberation Front. So basically this new man is an Oromo, I think, is trying to solve all these problems politically other than military, but also have a strong central military force. And again, you find that Ethiopia is going forward. Is this that now they're actually reforming the economic sector. Like they're going to, they've invited private capital, FDI, into the airline business, and also into the power business, and that is big because the Millennium Dam is going to be it's a huge project, and not only the power is going to be sold to the neighboring countries, but I think they need finances to do up the grids, the power distribution infrastructure. So they're actually reforming the place, and they're actually inviting foreign capital. Now, and Mr. Khomo needs peace.
Now, Mr. Khomo, this is an absolutely massive milestone for the country. So what should other African countries in particular learn from this about turn?
There's a lot to learn from Ethiopia. Ethiopia is one of the fastest growing economies in Africa. It's one of the top 6. But amongst these top 6, Tanzania, it is the only African country which has got that rate of growth without resource base, oil base, sort of economic base, Ethiopian advancement is based upon an agrarian, it's based upon its agriculture. And that's the magic. So before we can even look at the peace formation, let's look at how this peasant-based agriculture is actually driving the economy of that country. It's the fastest growing. And not only that, it's attracting investment. The Chinese are putting up factories there, and it's got a big market. I mean, it's a gateway to a very big area. It's got a population of about 60 to 80,000. So there's a lot to learn about Ethiopia. But funny enough, just for the sake of your list, the Ethiopian miracle when it comes to its agriculture it was based on very crude things which were done by Mengistu Haile Mariam. He actually took the land by force from the feudalists and through killing them and distributed it to the peasants. And that is the thing that has got the Ethiopian magic. That's the thing that people do not actually credit Mengistu Haile Mariam for.
Mr. Khomo, I wish you could go on and on and on, but unfortunately time is not at our side. But then thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thanks for having me, mate.
African Affairs expert Mr. Izak Khomo giving us his impressions on the developments in Ethiopia, wherein the country has now fully accepted and embraced the peace agreement that was signed with Eritrea about 16 years ago. This is The Globe on SABC News. Let's take a short break now. We'll have more shortly thereafter.